into now it's the Radio Misfits. All right, James is getting all set up. We'll be here in a minute. It is the rare, which should now be the norm, Monday evening show of the Radio Misfits with myself, Pugs Moran, and that guy's name is James Parker, although apparently he is going by the name of Shooter McGavin tonight. Shooter McGavin still doesn't have his camera engaged. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Boom. That means he's on deck. He's getting ready.
No, I can hear you. I'm just waiting for the OBS to finish loading.
Oh, what are you doing? A little reboot kind of a deal?
Yeah, not a voluntary reboot either. Just sometimes the computers revolt.
Oh yeah, they sure do.
I don't want to anger any of my future robot overlords. So I'm on Team Robot that is well established. I just want to maintain my alliance with the future robot uprising. You
gutless coward! I will die in the great robot war of 2025. That's how I'm going out. Go ahead. Be a traitor to your would that be a race? What would
kind of
kind? What would kind be a traitor to your kind?
I would be a traitor to carbon-based life forms, I guess. All right, there you go. See, you say nice things about them, and they let you have your life back. You know.
Yeah, you go ahead, you simp on them. All right, welcome to the rare Monday evening Radio Misfits show. As we say, we do this. We do it whenever we get around to it. Actually, you can pretty much count on it being Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays now. Got a game on Thursday, so we won't be doing a Thursday night show. So I do apologize for that. Understood. James, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? Because if you're okay, I want to jump right into a little weekend story, and I need to get your advice. But how was your weekend?
I feel like so much has happened since last we did a show. So it's been like 5 days. So
yeah, but that's always the case. Oh, you know what? It's always longer. Actually, it's shorter because for the past 6 weeks, we've had to wait till Tuesday to get back together. So look, it's actually shorter. Right. All right. So
go ahead.
I had a very fun-filled weekend. There was a whole lot of stuff to do. It all concerned a Texas high school football homecoming weekend. You know, all the parades, the pep rallies, the varsity games, the junior varsity games. Oh, the dance on Saturday night. It was quite the ordeal. His mom, who is the glue in his life, she had to go out of town on business, so this is a big responsibility for me. Had to make sure that everything was done. James got in my head last week about some crazy mum thing that didn't turn out to be a thing. But hey, James, you know what I discovered about the mums?
Yeah, what about them?
They're a thing, but they're like a white guy thing. They're like a white people thing. Like minorities don't seem to have participated in it. I was around all the mums at the varsity game on Friday night, the Plano East versus Plano varsity game, and there were a lot of mums. But it seems that my son runs in a minority crowd. It doesn't seem like anybody he was with had it. But there were definitely, the Friday Night Lights looking crew. They all had it.
Disagree.
Oh, is it like, because you coming from a pretty diverse area? Tyler's pretty diverse. I mean, are you saying that it has there? But in Plano, I'm telling you, with mine own eyes, I saw it. It seemed to be definitely more of a white person Texas thing. So you're telling me that, well, you've got the mixed blood. So, you identify as Hispanic as well as a white guy. So you say that you've seen it out there in Tyler.
Yeah, it's normal as hell for all races out here.
Everybody. So it's not really just a
and out here white. It's like all of Texas. Smith County is not majority white. I'm not.
No, none of rural Texas is. Rural Texas, people are freaked out by this. They think it's just a bunch of white bubbas. It's one of the most diverse parts of the city. I mean, you get into city neighborhoods and you'll find far less diversity than you will if you just get dropped into like Waco or something.
Yeah. So I know we're less than 50% of the population, but I think we may be a plurality still.
Well, what does that mean? What a plural? I mean, I understand what it means. I mean, explain it.
I'm the largest minority.
All right.
My old high schools were not anymore. My old high school is like 49% Hispanic now, and then 30% black, 20% white.
And they still doing mums. Yeah, you've seen a recent 2023 representation of the mum thing. Okay, I saw it as well, but I did notice that it was all blondes, and it was all.
This is not a Scandinavian pastime.
Well, Plano's pretty diverse. Plano East is certainly very diverse. Okay, so we had the big weekend. I seem to have pulled it all off without a hitch. But I want to get into a conversation. Now, you and I come from two different generations, although you're kind of on the cusp. You're sort
You're
of
the oldest Gen Xer. I'm the youngest Gen Xer.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not even close to being the oldest Gen Xer. The oldest Gen Xer was born in 1964. I was born in 1969. So I'm
64.
20. Yeah. 64, 65 to 79, 80 or 80, 81, depending on.
And you were 69.
Sweet. Well, I mean, right there in the middle. All right. So, I was all ready to be cool dad, but cool dad with rules for whatever was about to happen this homecoming weekend, because all I had to go on was what my homecoming weekend would have entailed, what we would have been getting into. And so, James, I guess to make a long story short, this homecoming weekend in Plano for my 14-year-old freshman in high school son was so damn innocent. It was, and I'll give you an example. So I went to the varsity game. I thought he might want to go to the varsity game. He didn't even think about going to the varsity game until I brought it up. I said, "We going to the homecoming game?" And he goes, "Yeah, you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So Friday night we go to the varsity game." Now, going to the varsity game, I understood right away that if we go to this, I got to be totally cool with sitting alone in the bleachers for 3 hours or however long this is. Because this is his high school. He's a freshman, right? He's going to want to go be free range for a while, right? Go run around with his buddies. His girl is there, right? So here he thought, it was just going to be a weekend with dad 20 miles away from where all the fun was happening. I'm like, let's go to the game. So I'm cool with sitting there. And I did. I sat there. As soon as he got there, he ran off. But then I said, okay, game is over. We meet right here, right at the dumpster out in front of the stadium. I'm like, right here. We're going to meet right here. I don't want to be waiting on. Dude, he was there early. He showed up early. We got in the car. We went home. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, so when I was 14 at the homecoming game, there was like a half a dozen keggers going on. I wasn't with my mom at 14 or with any parent. I jumped in a 16-year-old's car and went to the game with my friends. It was Friday night. Then, there was always a sock hop or a dance. I don't know if there was anything like that on the radar. He wasn't interested. And then the next day would be the big formal dance. And the big formal dance was, you took pictures with your friends and, one parent drove like 10 kids or whatever, and then you got picked up after the dance and you went out for a dinner somewhere, right? No, man, my kid left the dance early because his girlfriend had to go home. He calls me and he's like, "Dad, where you at?" I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm watching Ohio State and Notre Dame at a bar down the street." "Why? What's happening?" Because, I knew it was 7 to 10, but I thought he was going to need me to drive him somewhere after, I was going to stay in the area. He's like, "Come get me." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "She had to go home." I go, "All right." So I came and got him. And it was just really lovely. And it wasn't scary at all. And all I could do was compare that to when I was 14 and the kind of absolute mayhem and nonsense that I was getting into on homecoming weekend. And I'm wondering, because everyone knows the Generation X, we were free range. We were the latchkey kids. We were the first generation to be the children of divorce. Our mom worked. We came home with a key around our neck and we let ourselves in. We ate a bowl of cereal and watched MTV, right? That's what we did. Then you had the helicopter generation, which was kind of your generation, the millennials. Now they sort of did the complete opposite, where kids had to have all these activities and their time was always accounted for and they had nannies and all of this. And I'm wondering, has the pendulum not swung back? Like, what stage of childhood are we in? Because what I just described to you as my son's first homecoming weekend in high school, was that anything like what yours was? Or was yours more like mine, debauched with keggers and fights and all kinds of stuff?
Well, for us, that option was there. For me being a freshman in high school, I had an entree into that world because I had an older sister who was two grades above me.
That's how freshmen got into backyard parties. Absolutely. Yeah. Older sisters, older brothers, or they had a neighbor who they were buddies with who was a couple years older.
But it wasn't like that was the norm. Like that was an option you had. You could hang out with your family and all your cousins. You could hang out at like the church gym and play basketball. You could, we always had the sock hop after the homecoming game that everyone went to because
that was a Friday night and that was less formal, but then the formal dance was the next night.
Yeah, we didn't do the formal thing. We had like the formal prom and like a Valentine's dance. I don't know, we might have done a holiday dance too or something like that.
They must have been money in it because we had formal dances like once a month.
I think we did like a Christmas dance, a Valentine's dance, and a prom. I think it's it. I don't. We did a homecoming dance, but it was just in the cafeteria after the football game because it's all on the same campus. The middle school, high school, football stadium, all that. It's all on one campus.
We had a back to school dance. We had a homecoming dance. Then we had a winter season dance in December. Then in late February we had a snowball. Then in March April we had a prom. We had nothing but formal dances. It was absurd.
Sounds fun. So I had a fairly mixed experience in high school where a lot of my proms were just as innocent as what you described, and then some of them were, I don't know, like deleted scenes from Almost Famous. Some of it but you had to go choose that. It wasn't the norm or expected of you. You had to go seek that out, but it did exist. But
they're making fun of the high school term sock hop. Jeff Ballard, did you go to school during the 50s? No, he didn't, and I didn't either. But that was just the term that they gave to these informal dances in the gym.
Well, we called the sock hop ones the ones that were in the JV gymnasium because you had to take your shoes off because it was in the gym.
That's exactly what a sock hop is. It's a dance.
It sounds dorky, and you're right to make fun of it, Jeff. I would make fun of it too if I was in your position. So,
but I'm surprised that Jeff in rural Iowa doesn't have why the sock hop seems strange to him, because it was normal for me in the Midwest, and it's a normal term for you in Texas. So why is Jeff in Iowa thinking we're weirdos?
I always thought we were behind because we didn't have one of those gymnasiums that opened up and there's a swimming pool under it, like in One for Life. Yeah.
Sure. Sure, we didn't have one of those either. We just had a swimming pool room.
All right, so here's a couple of. I like this conversation because I have kids and I've actually put some thought into this. So on one side of the spectrum, like, wow, we were so much wilder and crazier than they are. And I kind of feel like pushing back against that. But then I also kind of recognize that there's some other weird things this generation does. Like they're not that excited about getting a driver's license.
Yeah.
My wife's her youngest first cousins just went through that high school to college phase. And both of them were like, yeah, I'll get my license whenever. I'm like, you're 17. You don't have a license. You could have had, well, I mean, I'm going to get it. And they didn't get it till they were 18. They didn't get their license. Then they didn't care. And that blew my mind.
But, I'm actually, I kind of understand this because we live in the era of, what's that?
Then explain it to me because I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I don't understand the lack of a desire for the driver's license, because the driver's license always represented a milestone in your maturation. It was freedom. It represented an ability to, go somewhere that was, non-biking distance, which meant a lot to us. However, parents, and I kind of like this, parents having Uber accounts for their kids, Uber, ride shares, all of these things, the taxi cab experience that inner city kids, or bus experience that inner city kids have been using for generations, has now come to everywhere because of these ride shares. I'm actually okay with kids, high school kids, taking Uber because I know how crazy I was at backyard parties. Did a lot of drunk driving, man. I don't want, if there's a way to take that down a little bit, I'm all for it. But why they don't want the driver's license, I think, James, it honestly has to do with what I'm saying here, is that kids are not maturing as quickly. Why? So the question becomes, why aren't kids, they're staying babies longer? And I don't mean baby in a pejorative way. I mean baby as in innocent, baby as in childlike.
Right. Agreed. And
I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I have a theory, but go ahead.
Yeah. So no matter what your theory is, I would also like to stick this little silly putty on the wall, is who says that's a bad thing? And it seems to be like the animals that plop out, and if you're just ready to go on day one, you're a dumb animal. But for the animals that have like a higher IQ, like some chimpanzees get up to like 60s or 70s IQ or something crazy like that, almost like humans, but they take years and years to reach adulthood, where, like a giraffe hits the ground and it's already walking. So it's the animals that take the longest to mature that have borne out to be the intelligent ones, and we are the longest of that.
Yeah, I don't think this is a nature issue, though. This is more of a nurture issue. This is the nature of the let's say, modern American human has been pretty consistent since.
No. This has been a nature or nurture argument. I'm saying this could potentially be a good thing, whether it's nature or nurture.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think it's a good thing in some respects as a parent of a teenager. I'm glad that I don't have a wild man that's like me. So it's a good thing there. But I don't think overall. I think there's a lack. I don't know. Here's what I always say. This is what I think it boils down to. And I don't mean to be reductive, but when I was growing up, when I was 5 years old and there was absolutely nothing for me to do or nothing to entertain me, they would plop me down in front of a TV and whatever was on 3 channels I watched. It didn't matter that I was 5 years old and watching Rich Man, Poor Man, an NBC miniseries about marital infidelity and alcoholism at 5 years old. I was exposed to these things over and over again because of a lack of options. Adult and more mature fare was not forced on me, but by osmosis. I became more aware of it. And I think we live in an era now where a kid doesn't get sat down in front of a TV and is forced to watch Reservoir Dogs because it's the only thing that's on TV. The kid today can now pull up a phone and just feed his brain candy, whatever it is that he wants. So instead of reluctant, I didn't want to watch Rich Man, Poor Man, but you know what? I was 8 years old and I understood divorce. I understood marital infidelity at 8 years old, right? So, I mean, your mic is off, but go ahead. That's what I think is happening.
Okay, so example of that is in my TV job now. I'm 46, and the people that are in like the crew running the cameras and stuff, they're like younger. Like I'm literally the same age as Nick's dad. I'm like, you're young enough to be my kid. He's like, how old are you? I said 46. He goes, that's my dad's age. Yeah, why don't you go die in a fire, Nick? College graduate Nick with a father my age. So I hate it. But there's people even younger than that. I think the youngest person in there is like 19. Anyway,
do they seem innocent or not necessarily innocent, but less mature? And by mature, I mean intellectually mature. I don't mean, they're still, they haven't developed yet. I mean, like when you're having a conversation with them, like their lack of knowledge about things that occurred before they were born seems to be really low. Whereas my generation, we were forced to know who John Wayne and Cary Grant were, because they were the only people on TV.
Well, to your earlier example of like Reservoir Dogs and whatnot, whenever I go into the studio and I have to put on a microphone and I have to put on an earpiece, and I have a box for both of them, and each of them have a number on it, and you want to keep 1 and 1 together. And the main anchor is going to wear number 1, the second guy's going to wear number 2, the weatherman's always on like 5 or whatever. And so they asked me, which one'd you get? And I said 1 and 1. And they're like, what? I'm like, nothing.
Of course not.
I never hum that song. If you don't know that song, this is an HR issue that I just created. They don't know who Two Life Crew is. And it dawned on me that, man, I was younger than my oldest son is now when I listened to Two Life Crew. And did that have an effect on me? Like, is that why I don't know.
So here's another quick example. My son wore a number. I don't want to go into too much details because, but he wore a football number that I thought was really funny that he had chosen briefly. I thought the number was very funny, and he didn't seem to understand why I thought it was funny. And so we moved off the topic really quick. I think when I was his age, I would have understood why that number was funny. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And I think it's because, when I was his age, again, I'm watching people half in the bag on the Tonight Show as my only form of entertainment. Phineas and Ferb didn't exist. SpongeBob SquarePants wasn't an option for me when watching TV at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? So I was forced. I don't know. He's a good kid and I love it. I am not complaining. It's just, you worry about, I know what I was in high school and I know how my brain worked. And I just honestly don't think I have to worry about that with this kid. He goes up, how was the dance? Good. Anything go on between you and her? It's like, no, it was just all so sweet and so innocent. So I don't know. And I do think that's a good thing, right? So Gen X latchkey kids, free range. That's how we were raised. We led to helicopter parents who they said, remember tiger moms and all that? They said that they were way too overbearing and that is what ruined millennials. So I don't know what we got now. What are we happening with Gen Z? Just sort of
I think it's fascinating how kind of shocking these statements coming out of your mouth can be, considering the data backs you up solidly. Teen pregnancies have declined as being an issue. And now a lot of that is because back in the day we used to get married and have kids at 18, but the average age of a woman's first child has kind of ticked up, which shows a little bit of maturity. I don't want to say it's morality or driven by some sort of religious impulse, other than the fact that, hey, whatever it is, the behaviors have changed in sort of a positive way. Delaying childhood or delaying motherhood has been correlated with success and happiness and career and all that crap. And so, like, some of these things are good and some of these things are borne out by the numbers. And so it's kind of interesting for people who find this shocking. Pay attention. There's a lot of good things that are happening in the world, and it's not going to make the news. And that that Tina delayed her childbearing years until after she finished college or found the right guy or whatever. But it's happening. Some things are getting better in this world. A lot of things are getting better in this world. We're running out of starving people in this world. We're about to run out of polio.
That has to be we're about to run out of polio. We're out of amoxicillin. We have no amoxicillin in this country. Just a fun fact.
No, I'm just saying, how we eradicated smallpox we're about to finally eradicate polio. It's been done here for centuries, decades, but there's like a little pocket left in like Afghanistan and Pakistan that they just kind of isolated the entire world's polio, and they're squeezing it out right now.
You were this has always been a bit of a stickler for me. You were talking about sexuality in the different generations. And I've always hated, and I'm going to include you now as an old millennial and not a young Gen Xer, because you benefited from this. My generation, when we were in our coming of age period between, say, 15 and 25. Okay, let's say that's your coming of it, right? That's when you're having the wildest sex and the most fun and the craziest memories, going off to college. My generation, we got screwed. Actually, the problem is we didn't get screwed. And we didn't get screwed because my generation our coming of age moment coincided with AIDS. And for the first 5, 6, 7 years of AIDS, nobody was having one night stands. Nobody was getting laid. Nobody. I mean, it was scary, right? So when I'm 18, 19 years old, it was not great.
Well, hang on. Sorry to interrupt, but do you feel there's an analog for the poor bastards that came of age during COVID and they had 2 years of their sex life just pulled out from under them?
No, because mine was 10. The AIDS pandemic wrecked no way. People in the pandemic, they would just hook up and they'd never leave. You know what I mean? No. I think, but interesting point there. So here's what happened after us, right? So right as I'm like 23, 24, my coming of age sexual years are destroyed by AIDS. I'm 23, 24, Magic Johnson gets AIDS, right? He's HIV positive. And then nothing happens to him. He like gets healthier. Like he's dunking basketballs and everybody's like, wait a second, you mean we didn't have to basically be celibate for 10 years? And then your generation rises. And this is where we start getting threesomes and girls start kissing each other and butt is now on the table. Butt was never on the table in Gen X. Are you kidding? You millennials went sexually off the charts. You did. You guys introduced all the threesomes. You guys introduced all the crazy fetishes. And it coincided with Howard Stern and the rise of, homosexuality being more accepted. Not for us. Not for us. We got ruined and you got laid.
So compare us to the societies that got more sexually adventurous than we have become now, because there are, some of those.
Are you talking about historically?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I can only speak to the generations that I've seen rise with mine own eyes.
Oh, stop it. Like in the Roman Empire days, they were
debauched, but the upper class was debauched, and there were no. I mean, I don't think you can compare modern civilization and our sexual habits throughout the eras to like ancient Rome.
Okay, well, what about something closer to home then? What about like a Weimar Germany? They had like prostitution issues that were kind of weird. Yeah,
Germans are kinky
beyond just the regular old.
I don't know enough about the Weimar era of the pre-rise of Hitler I don't know much about that era of Germany. The post-World War I, pre-rise of World War II.
Right. Well, we know when the pendulum swung back this way, we ended up with Hitler. But what did it swing from? It swung from that. Well, yeah, but there was kind of that middle ground between World War I and Hitler, and it was I heard prostitution in various forms was the thing, and I don't know. It just seems really weird that
what do you think? But that's not special. Prostitution has been in every society, and it's been very popular and very successful in every society since the dawn of man.
Yeah, you're talking to a libertarian. It's just interesting to see what role it plays and how it coincides with other, political changes that are happening or cultural changes that are happening in a country.
All right, I got nothing else. I just wanted to mention homecoming weekend went good, and how innocent and charming and all Americana it just all seemed. It was like an ABC after school special, and I was expecting, a Quentin Tarantino movie or at the very least some version of Risky Business.
All right, well, let me go to my top beef of the weekend, and what in the hell happened to the Cowboys? Like what they played like trash against a trash team, and they out trashed them, and it was awful. Like, Micah Parsons got shut down for the first time in his life. CeeDee Lamb tried, but nothing was really happening. Dak wasn't killing it. He threw the stupidest interception that 3 people could have intercepted to end the game. I know we had 3 guys out on the offensive line, but that looks really bad. And if that's not going to change, then I'm just giving up. I'm already done.
Well, I went through this. It was a terrible weekend for football here in the household for the boys. We had a wonderful homecoming, and all the Plano East teams won, so we're very happy about that. Thank you. But our next level teams all let us down. Notre Dame lost in the final second to Ohio State on Saturday night. We thought we thought it was in the bag. And then, of course, as expected, my Bears got blown out by the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. But the Cowboys, they had what we thought was a bit of a layup coming into this weekend, my boy and I. And I told him on Friday, we were driving, and he said, so how many think Cowboys going to hang 50 on the cards? And I'm like, my boy, I know you're new to this Cowboy fandom. You've only been doing it with all your heart for about 3 or 4 years. Let me tell you something. It's called a trap game. And he got mad at me. He said, "What? You're always so negative." I go, "No." I go, "Look, Cowboys are riding pretty high right now. Everybody in this town's been slurping them since week 1. This is our year. That team has always been destroyed by this kind." And this is an old rant that hears a lot about how this town has destroyed the Dallas Cowboys. Whenever they win 5 games, suddenly they're going to the Super Bowl. Hell, you got a joke that you opened your thing about it. That gets into these players' heads, and they walk around thinking they've won something before they have. And I honestly think that's what happened. I think they went into this game. It was a trap game. They went in thinking they could just go half speed. And guess what? Those are professional athletes too.
All right.
And by the way, hold on. Let me just end this by telling you the difference. Because they're all the parity. We talk about the parity in the NFL. Yesterday, at the same time the Cowboys were losing to one of the worst teams in the league, the best team in the league, the Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, played the team with the first overall pick in the draft, meaning the worst team. So we now know exactly what the difference between first team in the league and worst team in the league. 31 points. That's the difference. That is what the worst team in the league, the Chicago Bears, lost to the Super Bowl. 31 points. I thought that was interesting. Cowboys, however, they got no excuses.
All right. So for my next little point here, I'm going to do this one. Boom. This is right now the Rangers are playing the Angels, and they're losing. They're down by a run. And I remember, I don't keep up with baseball like you do or like a fan does. I'm just a casual guy, primarily because I work in a media outlet. I remember the Rangers were up by 4 games at the beginning of August, and they were in a 9-game winning streak, and they were about to cruise in, and they were starting to get some World Series talk going. And it's not that I was hoping they would blow it, but I'm starting.
You were. Sounds like you were.
I do kind of enjoy the fact that they are blowing it. Not that I didn't want it to happen, but since it is already happening, I'm saying I am enjoying this. And what is their deal? I wrote a song 20 years ago now. Literally, that song is 20 years old. about how these dudes always blow it. Man, that like the
Here's what I understand. What do you mean blow it? They're up 2.5 games in their division. I mean, what do you mean blow it? And then we got some problems because there are some injuries and they are limping into the playoffs.
well,
But
look, the
they're
Astros
a great young team, man.
Astros are beating the Mariners right now 4-0 in the bottom of the fourth. Rangers are losing to the Angels 1-0 in the top of the fourth. They will
give game left to be played. 1-0 is nothing. They're 2.5 back, so they'll go on and it'll be one. It's gonna be a battle. Don't shit on the Rangers, man. Nobody expected anything from the Rangers this year. The Rangers saved my summer. They're the only reason that I enjoyed any sports this summer whatsoever is because the Rangers have put together a really exciting team that's gonna be around for a while. So, even if they do, dude, their arms are so broken. Seriously. This team has no pitching. They are just limping into the playoffs. They are really a great story. Now they'll be one and done. They'll probably lose in the first round because they have no pitching. Although they could go in a short series. They could go with 3. They could go with 3 starters. I don't know if they have 3 starters. They got no middle relief. Don't crap on the Rangers, James.
They're so fun to crap on, though, because they're so consistently disappointing.
As opposed to the Cowboys? You know what I mean? I mean, isn't this all of the teams that we love? All of our teams are. Here's something I was thinking about last night watching my Bears. I thought, you know what? If you told me, because I started watching Bears games at probably 4 or 5 years old. If you told me that every Sunday I'm going to watch a TV show and I don't know, like 80% of the time, I'm going to be heartbroken at the end of that TV show. I would have stopped watching that TV show 20 years ago. Why am I still watching Bears games on Sunday when all they do is ruin Sunday nights? And that's exactly how Cowboy fans feel because I'm raising one. Sunday nights are ruined when they lose.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like that for sure. All right. Do you, as a Dallasite, do you have a strong opinion on the mayor flipping parties, or do you give her a rip?
Look, the mayor of Dallas is a joke position. It's largely ceremonial. It's not a strong mayor. You can't really do anything. No, I think essentially, I understand that for party politics, this is actually quite a coup for the Republicans to be able to say that they now have a major city, Republican. But I don't think it really matters. I honestly don't know enough about this guy, Eric Johnson, right? And his name. Is he a bad man? I don't know. I live in Highland Park, man. Everything's great around here. I got no complaints. So whatever.
Well, I guess technically he's not your mayor. Y'all have your own mayor there, don't you?
Do we? I don't know. We are inside. We're inside Dallas city limits, and we're a Dallas postal. But yeah, they also consider themselves their own town. I don't know. It's got to be a tax thing, right? Because the tax base here has got to be like 1,000 times more than any neighborhood that bumpers up against us, and they don't want to share. So, right. They're like, this is us. I don't know.
Well, one thing I think of this as like sort of the outsider looking in is that this guy has ambitions beyond his job as mayor, and
right.
he's setting something up. So he's setting up a run to take John Cornyn's seat or Ted Cruz's seat. I mean, he's already been in the state legislature. Going back to that's not necessarily a move up. You wouldn't be rocking the boat. So he's got some bigger ambitions in mind. Governor, what's on his mind? Because something's on his mind. House representative.
It's definitely stepping stone. I mean, the position of Dallas mayor is largely a stepping stone. It didn't work for Laura Miller, but it did for Ron Kirk. I mean, Ron Kirk turned it into a senatorial gig, which is, pretty good for him. Eric Johnson is now probably one of the most attractive GOP candidates. If you were going to run him for statewide office, especially in Texas, yeah, very attractive. Dallas, big city, blue city, mayor, black guy, don't underestimate the minority, black guy, Republican. He could definitely run and collect some votes. But do you run him against, do you save him for a formidable Democrat here in the state, or do you allow him to challenge Ted Cruz? You know what I mean? You don't want to get rid of somebody you've already got a seat.
Yeah, so probably Ted Cruz and John Cornyn would be untouchable unless John Cornyn is planning on retiring or pisses the wrong people off. Same thing with Ted Cruz. If he has higher ambitions, and
he hasn't switched to run against an established Texas Republican. So there's something else. There's something else.
Right. And I would guess the most likely opening for a guy like this would be the House of Representatives from a Texas district. And that I guess that's a
currently blue one. It would have to be, again, because you want to win a seat with him.
Yeah,
you're
but
trying to.
That's not what you want to do if you're Eric Johnson. You want to go find the easiest election to win, and so that would be the reddest.
I don't know. He's bell of the ball, though. He's in a good place.
So here's something we learned today. When today in this day in history was the day the Bill of Rights was ratified in the Constitution in like 1789 or something way back then. So the Bill of Rights was originally 12 amendments.
Okay.
The first two are the ones that did not pass. So the Bill of Rights, as we know them, 1 through 10, are really 3 through 12. So the original Third Amendment is our First Amendment with freedom of speech and assembly and religion and press and all that crap. The original Fourth Amendment was the one that right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And then the Fifth Amendment was the you can't quarter soldiers. So it just scoots over 2 amendments because the first 2 didn't make it in the final cut.
So what were the first 2 that didn't make it?
Oh, I forgot.
Tell me. Now shut up and give them to us. You can't forget.
All right. The original. What was the original First Amendment? It was the size.
So what you're saying is that in the minds of the drafters, there were 2 things more important than freedom of speech.
Well, if they were putting them in order of importance, I guess that would be true. But that wasn't the point of my conversation. But maybe they did put them in like.
No, I just find that interesting that if it was because the First Amendment is argued to be so important because it's the First Amendment. So if it's actually supposed to be the Third Amendment, I want to know what the framers thought was more important. So hit me.
All right. Well, I'm about to tell you then. I like pulling the old. I don't remember stuff. So the first one was about the size of the House of Representatives seat, and in the first Congress, it was 1 representative for every 30,000, and then once it got above 100, stick with me here. I'm pulling this all off my head. I seriously, I don't have anything I'm reading on. So if I screw this up, shut up. So once it gets to 100, then it's 1 representative for every 40,000, and then once that gets to 200, then it's 1 representative for every.
All right, so it's boring stuff. It's just logistics. That's basically what you're telling me. Nothing fun.
Well,
like
we had.
You want to have sex with goats? You can. Something crazy.
No. This is about the number of representatives, number of people for each representative in the House of Representatives. So it started being at 30,000, 40,000, then it gets up to like 60,000, and that was what the First Amendment was. Whenever our country gets so big that each representative is representing not a too large pool of people, we need to reduce that. Now we froze the number of House of Representatives at 435 a little over 100 years ago, and so now it's just inflated. Whatever our population growth is under that, it has gotten to where the average representative in the House of Representatives represents a group that's more than 10 times as big as what the founding fathers intended. Are you not interested in this?
And are you advocating that we get more of them? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're saying we need more of these awful, awful people.
No. Well, that might be a good thing. So if we followed that math, there would be like 6,000 people in Congress, and that kind of sounds ridiculous. But let's just roll the dice and see what happens. And what would be different? Well, would it be easier or harder to buy off Congress if there's now 6,000 of these idiots? And how easy would it be if you didn't like what your congressman was doing to make sure that he doesn't win in the next election cycle? And would this make it so much easier for third parties on the left or right or some other whatever incarnation to actually get a foothold in the Congress and therefore get a little bit of a public microphone and an ability to chip away at the oligopoly or the duopoly that you have, because so much of what the two parties do is alike? And so when you start having that discussion, why not? Well, that was the original First Amendment. I hate to be so dismissive of it because they wanted it to be the First Amendment, which you said should probably be weighted pretty big. So what's your thoughts, Pugs?
On that, I don't know. I never really thought about it. I resist the idea that we need more Congress people representing. But you do make an interesting point that I would be okay with 60,000 members of Congress. I'm okay with that. Let's go.
6,000. It was 6,000.
Oh, I want 60 because if we're just going to screw the God, look, I have a lot of problems with the way we're represented. Mostly I focus on the Senate. I've never really given any thought to the House of Representatives. The lower chamber has never interested me. It just seems beyond repair. It really does. It seems like the problem that I've always seen with that isn't the same problem with the Senate is that with congressional representatives, they represent a small enough group of people that every couple of months they can go back to their hometown, rub a couple of kids' heads and kiss a couple babies, and those people will vote for that guy forever because they met him once and it was so exciting. And look, now we've got a picture of a famous politician in our living room. Everybody thinks Congress is broken, but everybody also thinks that their guy is not the problem. So everybody just reelects their guy. So adding more to that, certainly I like the way you went with, well, then it'll be harder to, for corruption to take hold when there's some, I don't know. I guess I've never really thought about it, but I do think Congress is broken and beyond repair. The lower house.
Well, one of the logistic parts of this is if we do have 6,000 members of Congress, if I can have my way and let's just try this out, they couldn't meet in the current facility. So they would have to meet in like, the American Airlines Center or something. And I'd be cool with that.
Well, no, 6,000, no Kia, a nice, or whatever it's called out there now, a nice theater, There are
yeah, you're right.
Theater on Broadway. There are 6,000 seat theaters on Broadway.
Well, I like the theater and the round thing that they did in the episode 3 of Star Wars. No. I was thinking of Star Wars episode 3.
Oh yeah, because there were thousands and thousands of. Oh yeah, let's build that. Elon Musk, he can build that.
Doesn't that make it automatically sound better when you have the? Yeah. Oh man. So now what would the new nation's capital look like? Let's make it look like the Thunderdome just to scare the crap out of everybody.
No, Thunderdome.
Well, I just mean in that motif. Let's make it intentionally look scary.
Intimidating?
Yeah, like we're the bad guys.
I want it to be inviting. I want it to be like Wakanda. Let's make it like Wakanda with like floating, flying green cars and stuff.
Yeah, okay. Let's flying cars, no big deal.
You want Thunderdome. All right. And you want floating. What are you talking about? I can't have flying cars. You're recreating the Senate, the intergalactic Senate from Star Wars episode 3.
All right. Don't you want to know
have flying cars?
Don't you want to know what the original Second Amendment was?
Yeah. Tell me. What is the original Second Amendment?
So the original Second Amendment, again, I'm paraphrasing, so people don't be dicks. I know there's correctorsons out there, but the original Second Amendment was if members of Congress are going to give themselves a raise, it cannot go into effect until after their term is expired and the next one has begun. So it has passed now as like the 27th Amendment, but it just did that in like 1992. We would finally recognize one of the founding fathers' original visions. And hey, are we okay? Did everything fall apart? Is everything all right? Or do we all agree that was a good amendment and we probably should have done that in the first place? I think so. So let's revisit the First Amendment and let's go have a Congress of 6,000 people.
But everything did kind of fall apart. See, because they didn't include that. That could be one of the reasons why we have such a corrupt and unnecessary body today. But I like that one. That one's good. That one seems obvious. Like if you're trying to stave off corruption and graft, that one seems obvious, right? You can't get elected and vote for a raise for yourself. If you got to be on your way out.
Well, you are in line with the founding fathers, Mr. Pugs.
But I also think that once you take a job in the United States Congress, that you can't work in the private sector for 10 years. I think that you should have term limits, and I think that you shouldn't be able to jump right away into another job. I think maybe you know what, we can negotiate on the 10 years. I like 10 years. It's a starting point, but I could probably get comfortable with as little as 10 or 2. I just don't like these people who spend the last lame duck session of their life in Congress selling out the American people and then taking a board position, with some company that was, I don't like that. So I think that needs to be fixed. That's a big problem. Doing the biddings of outsiders.
Yeah, well, my stupid libertarian response to that is if you just take away the power from what Congress can control, then the lobbyists will naturally go away anyway.
Well,
Not all of them, but a lot of them will.
I actually think serving the people of the United States of America ought to be a bit more of a sacrifice. I think it maybe ought to be something that instead of people looking at and going, this could be a stepping stone to greater things for me, I think people should look at it and from the, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington viewpoint that, yeah, you're not going to get rich doing this. In fact, it's illegal if you get rich doing, I think. But also, James, you know me, I want the Council of Elders. I want a bunch of rich old people who have terminal diagnosis, who are trying to buy their way back into heaven and they don't need any more money. That's who I want making all the decisions.
I want the Witten from Last Kingdom. I want the Witten.
Something. Yeah. Or the guy, who's that weird mutant from Vikings? The seer? In Vikings, the seer who's always like, I want that guy. That guy knows what he's doing. All right, you got anything else?
No, I'm about out of. I mean, do you care about Usher being the halftime show?
I don't give it.
See, and that's the point. That's why I like it, because who can bitch about Usher? No one.
Cares.
Can anyone bitch about Usher being?
Here, I want to show you a video. I got a little something for you here. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? All right. This is a Zoom meeting, and I wonder if this happens a lot. We know it. We know one very high profile time where this happened, but this is not that. Here, James, it's a Zoom meeting with a whole bunch of people who work in the same office together. Let's watch. Here we go. Okay. Boop, make it big for you. There.
Janelle, can I actually hop off this call since I'm not on this account?
It's no problem.
All right, so this is Daniil up here in the upper left. Can you see him?
Yes, we see him.
Okay, here's Daniil. All right, he doesn't need to be in this meeting, so he's going to jump out. Okay, they're telling him a whole bunch of people here. He's like, they're like, that's fine, Daniil. You don't need to be here.
Okay,
Go ahead, Sean.
sure. Let's just start off.
All right, so did you see that? Daniil turned his camera off.
Oh no, so he thinks it's off.
There it is.
What is he about to do? What? Oh no! Oh no! What do grown ass men doing with their computer when they think no one's looking? Is it one of those
hot coworkers? Like, I don't know. He's working for Moby. He's got Moby up here. He's about to do something very embarrassing in front of Moby. All right, so he turns his camera off. He says, I don't need to be in this meeting. Turns his camera off and walks away.
Let's just start off with January 2020. Now, consumer spending is up.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
I got to give credit to Barney for that comment. Bring back the Grambling State Marching Band. Do you know why he's making that comment?
No.
Because for like the first two Super Bowls, that was the halftime show.
Oh, no. The first halftime show was Up With People. But, actually, there was actually a whole bunch of stuff. There was no one single act for the first halftime. They had like a guy who jumped a bus on a motorcycle, and they did. They had hula hoop people, like a hula hoop contest. It was crazy. It made no sense.
That was the weird thing about going to so many Pelicans games is every once in a while the entertainment between the third and fourth period would be some Polish people like bouncing off a pole, and I'm just laughing because I'm like, they're Polish, and there's like pole, and they're like flipping and landing on the pole and then like holding it, and anyway, poles on a pole.
Just stupid nonsense. But no, you're right. The Grambling band did play at the Super Bowls too. But the big center attraction was Up With People.
Is this Daniil?
Yeah, Daniil. Let's go back to Daniil. Here he goes. Daniil has stepped away. His box is now empty. He thinks his camera's off, but it's not.
Look at the graph right below.
What page are we on?
Oh, geez. What's he got? What's Daniil got, James?
I'm sorry, we're on page 12.
He's gonna do some cleaning. All right. That is wood polish, and there's a piano. There's an upright piano there, and that's some old English with lemon scent.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon pledge or something. Oh no.
Yeah. This lady right here, okay, she seems to know that something's about to happen, and she attempts to warn Daniil.
Second graph from the top.
Okay.
Daniil, turn your camera off.
Okay, so did you hear that? She just said, hey, Daniil, turn your camera off.
I cannot watch the rest of this.
All right.
Off.
No!
All right, below.
What page are we on?
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're on page 12, the second graph from the top.
Okay.
Daniil, turn your camera off.
All right, so if you look, we're 0.15% higher than 2019. We started this quarter off at 2.75%.
Holy shit.
That girl knows. She knows. The girl that's right under him says, Oh,
Holy shit. She knows what's coming.
5% higher
Neil,
than
that too?
2019. We started this quarter off at 2.75%.
Holy shit.
All right.
this is
Look
the
at this
worst day of my life, and this didn't even happen to me. He knows too. Who else knows that? Oh my god, this freeze frame is great because the middle girl knows. The guy on
This
the
is the
top middle
boss.
knows.
Upper right is the boss.
How do you know that he's the boss? Just because he's Moby's the oldest?
No, because in the beginning he was leading the
Okay, well, Whoopi Goldberg in center square definitely knows.
She knows something's going on. Look at him.
He knows, and he doesn't like Daniil. But the girl in the bottom right knows too. I think everyone knows. Bottom center's not really paying attention.
Let's see how quickly they all realize what's about to
No, Daniil, I'm so sorry this happened to
We're on
you.
page 12, the second graph from the top.
Okay.
Danielle, turn your camera off.
All right. So if you look, we're 0.15% higher than 2019. We started this
Hear the other guy go, uh-oh.
quarter off at 2.75%.
Holy shit.
Daniel.
Daniel.
No, no.
They're all screaming right now. One of them just said, can we call him? Here, so listen.
Daniel.
Danielle.
Daniel.
I don't think he's
Daniel.
January.
Daniel.
Danielle.
Call me.
Oh my God.
You call Daniel on his cell.
Call
Call Daniel on his cell. How do we turn this speed off?
Look at him. Look at him. He's sizing him up. He has no. This is why I have tape over my camera. Ain't never gonna happen. I always put the tape over the camera just in case. I don't trust any of this. All right, let's watch how this ends.
Off.
Wow.
We can't.
Oh, hell no.
Danielle. Oh my God.
The girl in the bottom right is left. She's like, oh, hell no.
no.
This guy is now up and out of his seat. The boss is trying to figure out how to word this email to HR. This one has invited a friend in. Look, somebody is now with this guy. Like, I gotta see this. And this is the best day at work this guy's ever had.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
I know. This one though, she's like gonna still be friends with Daniel, I think. I think she's intrigued. Let's
Oh.
Call me.
Oh my God.
You call Daniel on his cell. Call Daniel on his cell. How do we turn this speed off?
Wow.
We can't.
Oh, hell no.
Daniel. Oh my God. Daniel is the host. Holy shit.
all right, there you go. That's a bad day at work for Daniel. I don't know.
Please be staged. I'm just
Well, Leslie Collins says surely it's staged, but see, here's what I always look for. I look for the reactions, and if it is staged, then those are some really talented actors, because there was a lot of what I deemed to be real authentic reactions from people there that I don't think could be easily replicated by a novice actor.
By the grace of God, go I? No.
Yeah, no.
I have no sympathy for this. Who are these people that just, hey, I am 1 minute away from a work meeting. I got to whip the mule or something like.
Well, this is, of course, the Jeffrey Toobin situation. Jeffrey Toobin, the writer for The New Yorker, who was a longtime pundit on CNN, who's now back because apparently we only shame people for 18 months in this country. He was in a Zoom meeting during the pandemic with his editorial staff there at The New Yorker, and he thought he was done, didn't turn off his camera, and then jerked off right there in front of all of his coworkers. Jeffrey Toobin, esteemed political commentator, a man whose opinions are supposed to be given much weight, is that guy when nobody's looking. So, he got in trouble for that, but he's back now. Everybody's forgotten. So I guess this happens a lot.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten. I think I'll remember that and, judge accordingly. Look, because there's it's really hard for me to digest the idea that he's that dumb and it was pointed at him and like, I don't know. It just
didn't know. All right.
It's almost more believable that he did it on purpose, but I don't know these things. I'm just saying it's
finally, I got one last thing that I want to lay on you tonight. We're not going to get into the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing. I had a whole thing we were going to do there, but come on, who cares, really? Actually, who cares? Everybody cares. It's like the number one story in the world right now, but we don't need to do it. I do have something here that I think you and I both will be interested in. Now, as I've been telling you over the last couple of weeks, I'm in the middle of a reboot of The Office. I'm rewatching The Office on Peacock.
The American one, right?
The American one, yes. Yeah, of course, made in America. Which honestly, I love the BBC version. I really do. I love the Ricky Gervais character. I love that. The American version's better. It just is. It's just better. And I may be biased because I'm more comfortable with American culture. So, but whatever. Maybe I get more of the jokes because of that familiarity. I don't know. But I think that the American version is superior. And the British version is fantastic. That's not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying American's great, British is shit. No, that's not what I think. They're both very good. I just prefer the American version. So anyway, I'm watching my reboot. We're in season 3. We've just merged the Sanford office with Dunder Mifflin Scranton. So we've got the introduction of Andy and Karen, so this has all just happened. Jim is back. Oscar's back. So I'm really loving it. And I know you love The Office. And I'm just, as I'm getting deeper and deeper into this reboot, I'm like, is this the greatest sitcom of all time? It very well may be. So anyway, that aside, comes news today. Peacock is rebooting The Office. That's right. They are rebooting The Office with Greg Daniels in charge. Greg Daniels, the original showrunner. We do not know many details here. Here, let me click on this. We do not know if it's going to be a episode for episode reboot, where you take this beautiful thing that has already been amazing and you don't touch it because, right, you don't change the lyrics to Hey Jude when you cover a Beatles song. You leave it alone because it's great and you just get new actors. I don't know what the deal is, but The Office reboot is in the works. Here's everything we know about the cast and more. Everybody stay calm. Could it really be happening? A new report is saying that The Office is getting a long-awaited reboot. Let's see here. The reboot of The Office is in the works at Peacock. The Office U.S. showrunner is involved with the reboot. Returning cast members have not been announced. James, what are your thoughts on an attempt to reboot The Office for a new generation? Is it crazy that this was almost 20 years ago, The Office?
Well, since when did we start rebooting TV shows like this? And it was hard enough to see this one be rebooted from the English version because they did, especially in the first episode, they used a lot of the same jokes and a lot of the script in that first episode. A lot of it. But has this been done before? If we didn't reboot MASH or Cheers, why are we rebooting this? It's good, but are we just out of ideas?
No, here's what it is. Television shows, popular shows, they've always been rebooted for new generations. It's just the television shows have been rebooted for films. So we had a Little Rascals movie, a Beverly Hillbillies movie, a Brady Bunch, but we had all of those reboots. Remember? Okay.
I'm cool.
But we just have more platforms now. So now we are getting into an era where we are rebooting network television shows for streaming platforms. It's just, it's just a new version of the film. It's a new place to make money off it. But yeah, I think you might be right. I don't know of any other modern American classic iconic show that's been rebooted. So it'll be a first.
Okay, so also with The Office and they're rebooting it, why do a reboot and not a sequel? Why not continue? Are they gonna redo Michael Scott and Jim? And
well, that's the thing. Will a new actor be playing the role of Michael Scott the way a new actor plays the role of James Bond or whatever? Will a new actor be playing the role of Dwight, right? Or is Greg Daniels just going to come up with facsimile characters that are also wacky? Okay, I would be more interested in seeing different actors interpret those same characters.
So they rebooted 90210. What happened? They brought back like 3 of the cheaper versions, members of the previous cast with all new people who were high school kids in a similar situation. So I have to assume that's what The Office is going to be. It's going to be 3 of the cheaper members. It's going to be like Kevin or Stefan.
It's going to be Kevin, Angela, and Stanley.
Yeah. It's not going to be Craig Robinson. That's for sure.
Like when you go see like the Allman Brothers at Taste of Frisco.
Steve Carell is not going to be in this.
Well, they can't afford it. They're not going to be able to afford They can't afford Jenna Fisher. They can't afford John Krasinski. Can't afford Ed Helm. These are going to be
right. Right point.
Certainly can't afford Steve Carell.
So just completely talking out of my backside because I know nothing. That's my prediction. Thank you very much.
Here's my prediction, and this is how I would do it. And I think this would be the most interesting. You take The Office. Greg Daniels already has the scripts, and this is why it's interesting. This was decided during the writer's strike. Now the strike is over, so that leads me to believe that they're just going to take existing scripts and reshoot them, which would get rid of the need for a script writer. I would take the episodes and I would reshoot the episodes. They are classic. I would update some terminology, because we are 20 years later, and I would update maybe the tech, and stuff like that. And so there might be avenues for new kinds of jokes, but I would literally just take the episodes and recast the characters. I would love to see another actor play the role of Michael Scott, regional manager of Dunder Mifflin Scranton. Love to see it. That's fascinating to me.
I would love to I would love to, if I was an actor that was taken seriously and had the chance, wouldn't that be just the dream?
Who could be it? Like who? I'll tell you.
A-hole, just the biggest, sorriest piece of garbage. Who'd be cool, and that is Rainn Wilson. Let Rainn be Michael Scott.
Yeah, you can't do it. Well, that's interesting. Does Dwight now is that because Rainn Wilson is probably gettable? His career hasn't been, this is what I was.
We've seen range out of that dude. He could do it. And it's funny because, Michael Scott's supposed to be about 10, 15 years older than Dwight anyway. And so now he's 10, 15 years older than Dwight.
So let me lay something on you. If you were just to recast the characters. So there's an actor out there who bounces around and he does a whole lot of comedy. And I think he's incredibly funny. And when I was trying to think of who would be a good, mix for the new Michael Scott, I thought of this guy. Are you familiar with Josh Gad? I thought he could pull off this character. Do you know this guy at all? Let me show you some better pictures of him. This guy right here.
Yeah, so that guy definitely looks familiar, Josh Gad.
He's a very funny, very dry, very absurdly over-the-top comic actor.
Was he in Grandma's Boy?
Maybe. I don't know. I just know him from a whole bunch of different things where I've always been like, that guy's really talented. I could see him in his weirdness, how weirdly he's another cringe actor. He says things deadpan and straight-faced that make you cringe. And I always thought, man, that's very Michael Scott. Anyway, I could see that. I'm excited. I mean, look, The Office is great. I'm enjoying, my re-binge. So whatever, you're going to give me some new, if Greg Daniels is involved, if you can get Michael Schur involved, I mean, that's a murderer's row of TV writers that put that show together by 2023 standards. Because at the time they were all unknown, but now we know what they've gone on to do, whether we're talking Parks and Rec or The Good Life or any number of other amazing shows. All right, James, I got nothing else. How about you? What do you got?
Well, it's past 10 o'clock. Let's call it a night.
Hold on. Kelly just texted me.
What's she want?
I don't know. She obviously doesn't listen. That's nice. That's nice to know.
Just call her and put her on the show.
No, we want to get out of here, don't we? We want to get out of here. All right, bye, James. Tell people what. I don't know what you got. You got anything to plug?
Dying of fire. That's what I had to say to all y'all.
Dying of fire. There he goes. That was very nice. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Just a little word to the wise. We got our short show tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be about an hour and a half, maybe an hour 15, whatever. Got someplace I got to be, but that's okay. We'll get it all down. See you at noon tomorrow for all the headlines, hot topics, current events, and all that good stuff. Love y'all. See you then. Bye, everybody. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. That is understood. It has been a journey, a multi-answer test. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I have got an old guitar, that is all I need.
Yellow 401, I don't have the green. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on